You listen to this station because you like getting what you want, right? Same idea behind the Sleep Number bed. You choose the exact firmness you want, your Sleep Number setting, and so does your partner. No compromise, no battle. Just the right sleep and individualized comfort for the both of you. You can only find Sleep Number at a Sleep Number store. Don't miss the lowest prices of the season. Save $400 on the C4 Queen mattress set, just $1499.98. Find us at one of our 5 stores in the Cincinnati area. For your local store, visit sleepnumber.com. No better sleep with Sleep Number.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to another edition of the Grueling Truth. It's Thursday night, which means we've got another NFL legend on. First off, I want to introduce my co-host, who is a San Francisco 49er fan, remember, so don't hang up just because of that. So he bullies me all the time. But Matt Andrews-Scavage, how you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm always doing great. Always good to be on with another NFL legend. And, yes, loud and proud 49er fan, just as you're loud and proud Bengal fan.
Well, I'm not really that loud and proud that I'm a Bengals fan. You probably didn't need to tell Matt that because he might hang up now. But but our guest tonight, we were just speaking with him a couple minutes ago, I thought the 3 best outside linebackers in the late 70s were Jack Ham, Robert Brazile, and this man here, Matt Blair. And we had Robert Brazile a couple weeks ago. I told him all we got to do is pick up Jack Ham, and we'll have all 3 of them taken care of. But Matt Blair was one of the great outside linebackers, I think, in NFL history, one of the most underrated, played in 6 straight Pro Bowls, played in 2 Super Bowls. Help me welcome to the Grueling Truth our guest, Matt Blair. How you doing tonight, Matt?
I'm doing fine, guys. How you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great.
Real good. Glad to have you.
Good to be with you guys.
We'll start off. At what age did you start playing football? I mean, what are your first memories of? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my first memories I do remember is that when I was in high school, my last 2 years I had to play because I didn't have a way to go to college. So by playing football, I played football and I played basketball and I played baseball and I ran track in high school. And by the time that I finished doing all that, it was okay, but I did not have a scholarship to go to play any sports. And then at the University of Cincinnati, a coach came down and told me, if you go down to NEO down in Oklahoma, it's a junior college, you can probably try out and get a scholarship and play on the team. And that was my only opportunity that I had, because I had not been a great education type side, because I didn't have the right, I guess, grade levels you have to be at. So I went down, parents dropped me off and told me, don't come home until you make it happen. And so I went down and I tried out, and they gave me the opportunity to make this team, and I did. But the first thing they gave us a chance to do was you were supposed to run a mile run. So there was 164 guys trying to make this scholarship time and team, and then so I ran the first mile I ever ran in a long time, and it was 10 each time that we went down, so 16 different sections. And so there's always one guy that challenged you or 2 guys that challenged you in a run. So the guy, as I was running, he was getting ahead of me, and I'm saying, oh, geez, I got to stay with this guy so I can get a scholarship. So I kept pushing, but he won. And when they gave the times for the run at the end, and so he had the best time, and I came in and about the 7th place out of 164 guys trying to get a scholarship. So from there, I made the team. Didn't get to play as start, but I played on the special team, and then we won the junior college championship that year. And then from there, came back and played basketball, and we did okay there and went to the playoff games. And then after that, that whole year that I was down there, I grew 2.5 inches, gained 30 pounds. And then I was 6'5.5", and I was 230, and when I was a sophomore. But then since we won the junior college championship, all these different colleges wanted me to come to their schools. And I had basketball teams and football teams, and so I just decided that I'll pick between the last two were Florida State and Iowa State. And so I finished up, and Johnny Ray just told me at Iowa State, if you come here, you're going to be on the 4th team. And so I came, and that's what happened. I got on the 4th team, and I worked my way up to the first team, and then, of course, we won. We came in 3rd place in the Big Big 8 back then, but now we call it Big 12. But anyway, we went to the Sun Bowl. And then the Sun Bowl, I did something again. We lost the Sun Bowl against ISU, but I was the most valuable player on defense. And that's when the NFL started checking on me then. And then so I came back my next year. I was going to be drafted, but then I got a knee injury, and I had to sit out for the year. And then the next year I came back and did well and made All-American for the University of Iowa State, and played in different games as a All-American team, and then the NFL drafted me in the 2nd round, and that's when I started in 1974 with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yes, you were drafted in '74 for the Vikings, and what was it like to get drafted and start as a rookie for a team filled with so much talent? So the famed Purple People Eaters, and you had Paul Krause in the secondary. What was it like for you as a rookie to start with those guys?
Well, it was very, very interesting to be with the Purple People Eaters, because at that time in the NFL, they were the best line that was in 4, that just did a great job of making things happen. And just to be with those guys, it was just outstanding. And I know it was just something that you have to work at it, because the difference was Fred McNeil, my best friend, he was drafted in the 1st round as a linebacker, and I was drafted in the 2nd round as a linebacker. And they had only 5 linebackers the year before. So my mind says I have to think about making this team, because Fred McNeil, he's in the 1st round, and they're going to keep him for sure. And then I'm just trying to say I got to make this team. So I worked and worked and worked and worked. And the best thing about it, though, I made the team, and Fred made the team, and it was just something that we just had to work. But I think playing with those guys on the Purple People Eaters is a little bit easier to make the team. So it was good. It was just good, and I just enjoyed being with the guys, because they were just a very creative type of players, and just being with them was just cool.
Well, your rookie season, like I said, you were on a great team, great defense. You made it to the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe talk a little bit about what it was like to play in the Super Bowl, especially as a rookie. All of a sudden, you're in the biggest game that everybody watches. And on top of that, you made probably in the 4 Super Bowls the Vikings were in, you probably made the biggest play that any Viking ever made in a Super Bowl with your blocked kick or blocked punt against the Steelers. Could you tell us a little bit about what that day was like?
Well, again, we're taught what we need to do as we get into as rookies, and that is something that over the years that we go through. But those guys there, they made it happen for me a little bit easier because, again, I think by playing in basketball when I was in junior college, I can jump up and slam dunk the ball because I grew up a little bit taller, and that was something that I didn't know I was going to be doing in the NFL by jumping up and blocking kicks, but that was something that helped me. And from blocking punts and blocking field goals and extra points, it was just something that, timing was everything. But they helped me because they tried to move the line back, and so I can take one more step closer and try to jump up and block, and that's what it all made it happen for our team because we blocked quite a few kicks in the time that I was there and the time they were there with me. And it was just something that we as a defensive team could do, and we did that. And in Super Bowl IX that I went to, I blocked our only score in the Super Bowl, and I think it was Jeff Wright basically. He fixed the ball and ran it in, and that was our touchdown. But I think Fred Cox, he missed the extra point. So that was our only score. And people said, hey, that was our only score that you made for us. And I said, yeah, it was. But again.
Those damn straight-on kickers.
Yeah. But that was exciting, and I didn't know. And at the time, that was very important, but we still lost the game. But again, just being part of that was just awesome. And being a rookie is just awesome also to be in the Super Bowl IX. And just being a part of that great team for the Vikings was awesome as well for me and just being there.
In the 70s, in the NFC, there were probably the three powerhouses were your team, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Los Angeles Rams seemed to be the consistent battles of the 1970s. And there probably was no greater game that your team played in against the Dallas Cowboys than the following year in the 75 playoff game, which became known as the Hail Mary game. I always felt that the 75 Vikings overall were the strongest Viking team of the 70s. Mike might have a different opinion on that one. But I thought you guys matched up real well with the Cowboys. And obviously, the way the game ended. Walk us through that particular game and what it was like to play against a player like Roger Staubach.
Yeah. Well, I think that is one of the years that a lot of people probably somewhat remember for the Viking players and Viking fans. But when we played against Dallas Cowboys and how we were doing so good so far, but then at the end they throw the pass and they get the first down. But when they threw the pass and get the first down, the player had been out of bounds, but I guess umpire said he was in bounds, and so they gave him the catch. But that was something that it just shouldn't happen. And I guess if we'd had the videotape at that time, we would probably be able to see it and show him that he was out of bounds. But anyway, but that was the toughest part. But that was the toughest year for the Vikings defense because we did a great job on a lot of teams over the year in 75 that just made us, be strong because our offense wasn't as good. I know Franz Hartson was definitely a strong quarterback, but he just couldn't get the things moving the way we should have. But the defense made a lot of things. So, when you think about it, if the defense gets the interception or gets the fumble on the 10 or 5-yard line closer to the other side, then we don't have to, have the offense run the ball all the way down and score the touchdown. And I think that was our difference in our defense, making all these plays for our offense so they can score. And that's how we had a great year in 1975. And that was just something that was just good for the defense doing well for us. And I was very excited because, my rookie year I started, and then I started playing because Mr. Wilson, he got hurt, and I had to start playing. And then my second year I started playing and stayed there. But I guess our defense was just the best. And, our defensive backs, I think that year also, I believe Nate Wright, had 6 interceptions that year. But it was just a great year to play. And if they wouldn't have called the guy inbound against Dallas, we would probably won the Super Bowl that year for sure.
Okay, your first couple of years, as a Minnesota Viking, you played for what I think was one of the greatest coaches in NFL history that nobody really mentions when they talk about great coaches. That was Bud Grant. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to play for Bud Grant? You have any memorable stories about him?
Oh, there was something that I did when I was a rookie that my first year had some money that I would do. I bought a camera and taking pictures of anything I see in life that God lets you see. I just like to take the pictures. And so by me taking these pictures, Bud Grant, I had taken pictures of him, everybody on the team, and it was just something that it was just awesome to see at that time. And I still have those pictures today of the past of my teammates when we're at training camp or when we're going down to Miami, out in the ocean there. We're hanging out, just being cool and working out. But it was just the difference is that showing the pictures was cool because I remember I had some pictures of Bud Grant. He was outside, and it was during training camp down in Mankato, and we're supposed to be in our bedrooms sleeping, but he's out playing bocce ball, and he's playing with some of the defensive players, and so he's out playing with them. But it's free time, you can just go, you play bocce ball, you can go and sleep, whatever. But most guys be sleeping, but I'd go take the picture of him playing. But he was just one of those coaches that I think was just very good for the young players and the older players because he's been a great athlete himself when he was going through his career, and he played I think professional basketball, and he was one of those guys that just knew how to do it and make it work, and he made us work at things that he told us to do because he always would challenge us and say, if you don't do this right, I'm going to come back to you and tell you that you're not doing it right, and if I tell you 3 times, you're not going to be around because I won't tell you again. So he would make you really think about things you have to do, and he was a good coach for us. And that was something that was just, I think, outstanding for the Minnesota Vikings, having him as a coach in Minnesota.
Yeah, Bud Grant, definitely one of the finest coaches that doesn't get mentioned, like Mike said. So you've really, you start out in 1974, and your first few years in the league, many players can only dream of being a part of the things that you were a part of, even though the way it didn't end the way obviously you probably wanted. So you go back to the Super Bowl in '76, and played against the Oakland Raiders. You had so many the players that you played with and yourself. You have to be the envy of so many other players. Played against so many fabulous players. Tell us about what it was like, going the '76 season and then following into the '77 season, going back to the Super Bowl and things like that.
Well, I guess the main part of it is that when you're 74, you're in the Super Bowl, and then 75, you get beat and you don't get to go to the Super Bowl, but you had a good year. But then again, that's where Mr. Grant said, "All right, guys, you look at it this way. What you've done the last 2 years has been great, very outstanding in the NFL. Let's pick it up and let's try to move to the next section, and let's see if we can get this Super Bowl one for the Minnesota Vikings in the NFL." And that's what we did. We tried to work at it, and it was just something that was something good for us to work at, and we just, as teammates, and everybody worked together, and we, just picked up the pace a little bit, and it was just something that was taught to us every day, that we had to keep working at it, and going back to the Super Bowl again in '76 was just, again, another awesome way of giving the right directions and what we had to do. And I just know that, and that was my third year, knowing how good it was to be in another Super Bowl. And that was something I just thought it was, for us as a team and a defensive team, was the big factor. But then Fran Tarkenton, of course, the quarterback, Chuck Foreman, and just all these great, talented teammates on offense was just outstanding, and it's just one of those things that we just kept doing everything the right way, and it was wonderful to see all these, again, players on defense and offense doing what we're doing. It was just wonderful.
Okay. 1977, you're coming off another Super Bowl, but I believe it was around week 8 or 9, Fran Tarkenton breaks his leg. I think Bob Lee was the backup quarterback. The game I remember most from you was, I think it was week 10, like the week after. You guys won a game 10-7 in Chicago where your defense played outstanding. I think you blocked a kick and returned it like 10 or 15 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think you guys ended up going 9-5, and your defense just played unreal with Tarkenton out. You guys went to the playoffs. I think you were pretty good underdogs against the Rams, and you get out there, and it was basically a monsoon. And I was like 8 years old at the time, and that's still my favorite game ever. I got a complete DVD of the game. I watch it all the time. Love the mud. Just talk about that season and the way your team overcame Tarkenton getting hurt. And I think you guys made it all the way to the NFC Championship game that year.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what took place again. But when Fran did get hurt, and then Kramer came in and did the quarterback side of it, it's just all those things that as you work at, and where it's your turn now. Tommy Kramer, for you to start throwing the ball, so you start being like Fran Tarkenton, and that's what he did. And he just used his knowledge and from Fran to, and it was one of those things that it was just working good for Tommy Kramer, and he was just awesome too. And that is something that year for him was outstanding. And again, the defense made it easier for him, and it helped him out, and he just made things happen. But again, that year was, you go through You're playing this, you're playing that, and everything starts to work. But it's just awesome to see all that happening. And the defense, we just made things easier for the offense, get it closer to them, to the goal line, and so. But it was to see Tommy Kramer come through and make things happen. He was a great quarterback as well.
All right. Real quick, I want to remind listeners we're talking with former six-time Pro Bowl outside linebacker from the Minnesota Vikings, Matt Blair. The show is 30 minutes live and then 15 minutes of archive time, so we will cut off at the bottom of the hour. If you're listening to the interview live, you can catch the interview at the top of the hour at midnight Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Central Time. Matt?
Yeah.
Okay. You're talking about block kicks and how you're got a lot of that ability from your basketball days. But you ended up with like 20 of them. I think you're third all time and the most block kicks in history. There's a lot of guys that played basketball and stuff. What was it though that really separates you from the rest and gave you that ability to be able to do it at such a level that Don Shula actually lobbied to change the rule to make it harder for?
Well, I guess the one thing about it was the easiest one was when I'd say the defensive line, purple people leaders were in front of me, and when I'm getting ready to block a field goal or extra point, it was easier to get higher at the position I'm at as I like in a slam dunk of basketball, then I'd do the same thing there. That was probably the best way because they moved the offensive line backwards, and that gave me one more step closer to jump up from. But blocking a kick on a punt, that was something that, I was just told just to go and try to block it, and I was tall enough to do that. Well, I just know this, and like you said, I blocked more kicks than anybody in the NFL, but you can't count them because they're in the preseason games or they're in the postseason games, and I blocked 3 against New Orleans Saints in a preseason game, and it's like it was one of those that, I just try to jump up and block and from the punt side of it, when he's punting the ball, and I guess just the timing of it, because my other teammate, Fred McNeil, he was on the left side, and I was on the right side, and coming from the right side, most of the punters, they're right footers. They're not left footers. So they're going to be punting a little bit to the right. So I was, able to get up and stretch out, and I was tall enough, and most of the people to try to block me are a little bit shorter than I was, and that was the best thing that I guess that happened, and especially when you're blocking. When I blocked one against in Chicago one time, I just couldn't believe that happened, and it just, that's just something that it just happens, and then you do it again against New Orleans Saints. So it's like all those things just happened, and I think that was probably the best thing was going for me at times. But I just it was something that you just work at it, and that's what I did.
Sure did.
One thing I always like to ask people is, who influenced your career more than anybody else? Was it somebody when you were in high school? Was it somebody with the Vikings, maybe a player that took you under a wing or a coach? You want to speak on that a little bit?
Well, I think as I grew from junior college to Iowa State to the NFL, I think the people that have made possible for me to be better at what I'm doing is that, again, when I was coming to the junior college in Oklahoma, I had to make the team. And so I think that was the best part about it, making the team and trying to get that scholarship, and it pushed myself. And then when I got to Iowa State, Johnny Majors told me, Mr. Blair, we're going to put you on the fourth team. You have to work yourself to get to the first team, and that made it change for me. And then from there, when I came to Minnesota Vikings, Bud Grant and his defensive coach on, I don't know his name right now, but he told me, if you're going to make this thing work, you have to push yourself. You have to make this thing really get into it and start making things happen. And so when I blocked my first punt, the coach, again, I can't remember his name, he came up to me and told me, now see, I told you push yourself, now look what you just did. Now go do it again. And I said, okay, I'll do it again. And I did it again. And he says, now see, I told you. You see, you just kind of keep doing that stuff and it'll work. And so that made me, again, push myself and try to, block kicks and punts. And that's just what I just worked at. And it was just something that, you're told what to do. But again, Bud Grant also, as we would go to training camp sometimes, he would say, okay, how many did you block last year? And he'd say, okay, now I want you to try to move it a little bit more this year. So again, people tell you that you have to work at things, and that's what I just tried to do. And I mean, that's special team. That's not really working on the football side of it. When you talk about your own position as outside linebacker, but that's just on the special team side of it. And again, I guess I played, on the special teams on every team that you have to do when you go on special teams, and that was something that made it possible for me to, work on things.
It's no secret that you don't have to be a Minnesota Viking fan to appreciate just how good of a team you guys had in the 1970s. I always like guys like Alan Page and Jim Marshall. Jim Marshall always said that Alan Page was, how do you put it, a little different. You got any stories about like Jim Marshall, Alan Page, Paul Krause, and those guys?
Well, I would say I picked the players that were the best on the team on the defensive side. I would pick Alan Page, Jim Marshall, Gary Larson, and Carl Eller. Now, those guys, the way they would approach coming through the line, the way they did, it would make it a lot easier to make the move that the coaches told you to do, and then do your other part that you want to get to the quarterback. And they did those things all the time. One of them would break it through, and the quarterback would be running to their side, and then of course either Jim Marshall will stop him if it's going to the right, or Eller stop him if it's going to the left, because he was on the outside, both are on the outside. And then, of course, Alan Page would go straight up the middle, and Gary Larson goes straight up the middle. And it always would have either the running backs or having the quarterback, dodge to the left, dodge to the right when you got the players coming in there. And they always did that. So I think that was the best thing about those four guys, that they just knew how to do it and make those plays. And I was very impressed. And so the part that I liked about it is that when they did that, and when they would run if the ball was being a running game, I had to make sure I keep myself on the outside left, because I was an outside left linebacker, that the people don't bounce, outside of me. So I had to work at my side of it too as well. But those guys, they were very impressive and very good linemen that I was able to play with.
All right. I mean, I know one thing that had to be one of your proudest moments was being inducted into the Vikings Ring of Honor. Can you tell us a little bit what your feelings were about that?
Well, I guess the Ring of Honor was something that was, when you're outstanding for the years that you played and all those seasons I played, right? I guess, and when they told me how many tackles I made, and I'm saying, I made how many? Over 1,400, whatever it was. And I'm saying, wow, that is a lot of tackles. But again, all those players that you played with, everybody making tackles, and it's like you do the interceptions and you do the fumbles. It's just one of those things that if I didn't play with the Purple People Leaders, I probably wouldn't be able to do all the things that I did. And then by blocking the kicks and blocking the punts, that's something that I kind of started for us, and it became, again, third in the NFL, they say I was. And it was just something that, again, those guys made it happen for me. And then, of course, Coach Grant told me I need to work at it, and I did those things, and I worked at it, and it was something that I just really moved and worked at it, and it was just something that all that timing was just perfect timing, being with the Minnesota Vikings at that time with the Purple People, because if I wouldn't have been at that age, at that time with them, I wouldn't probably be here today talking about this.
On a personal level, with your teammates, are there who are the players that you were closest with, and do you still maintain relationships with them today?
Well, the best player that I'm still connected with is Fred McNeil. He is again the number one draft pick in '74.
Right.
And we were roommates and as well as teammates for 11 years, and today he's the one that has NFL concussion like I do, and so we just I used to, in my rookie year, I'd go out and stay with him in California with him, with his parents, and I would go out there all the time, and that's something that I guess when I was a young guy, and I guess going to see him out there was just outstanding because we were his friends, and but to this day, I was just out there to see him. Maybe in May, maybe April. I was out there to see him again, and I saw him earlier, like in October. But he has that concussion side that he's staying at this hospital for the concussion side people, and that's the part that I kind of like he has it worse than I do, and today he has to be every day work with a person to help him go through his life, because the nurse has to work with him every day. And when I was there before, he wasn't great, but he was in the rooms there, and he was walking around by himself. But now he has to have help even more, because he can't lift his arms and he can't really, move around. So that's what his concussion is working on his he has ALS right now, so that's the part that's not good for him.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest shame in all this is you've got a billionaire corporation that built that off the backs of players that does not take care of players the way they should.
That's right.
Well,
and I mean, right. I think it's a shame. I mean, if it wasn't for you guys, there would be no Super Bowl with billions of people are watching, $1 million commercials, and the fact that they don't feel like they should have to give back to take care of you guys, I think, is a huge injustice.
Right, yeah, that's true, and it's something that I guess as but the part that I didn't quite understand in his position, I never saw him get knocked out like I got knocked out in 1976. And that's something that I didn't know he was going through that process of it. With all the tackles that I made, and then again in 76 against the Washington Redskins, I got knocked out and they had to carry me to the hospital that day, and then they let me play again against the Rams, and within I think it was a week, because they were in the playoff game, and that's where I played, but again, but my concussion is not as bad as his, and that's the part that I just know that it's to see him in that position, it's just very, very emotional for me to go through that process. But again, the NFL has been helping the situation, and they're doing a better job on it now, and that's the best part about it. And that's just something that it has to be taken care of. And each day you live, you have to work at things, and that's what it's been happening with all these players that are coming in and doing things, that you have to work at it. You can't just try to jump on it. You just have to work at it and make it work for yourself.
Yeah, it's just a shame that they had to be forced to help. But we're almost out of time. We got about 2 minutes left. I really want to thank you. It was an absolute honor to talk to you, Mr. Blair.
Well, it's good to talk to you guys too, and I've just been very thankful, and God has blessed me and gave me a chance to do the things I have done in my life, and that's why each day you live, it's a blessing.
Well,
I want to second what Mike said.
Go ahead, Matt.
Appreciate you being here. Just appreciate you being here. It was definitely an honor to talk to you and reminisce your great career.
Well, thank you very much, guys, and nice to have me with you guys and talking about things that was very honorable to be a part of in my life, and this playing in the NFL was just great.
Well, hey, if you ever want to talk again, we're always here. We'd always love to have you as a guest.
Well, you guys want me to come back? Hey, give me a call.
All right. We'll talk again then.
Okay.
But thanks a lot, Matt.
All right. Thank you, guys. God
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay.
All right, guys. We've got a boxing show next Tuesday night. Guests will be announced shortly on our Facebook page, which we've got a Grueling Truth Facebook page, which I suggest everybody go to like. Next Thursday night, we'll have not a 49er, because we've had everybody that's ever played for the 49ers on our show. Next Thursday night, we will actually have somebody from the greatest organization in the history of the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals, M.L. Harris, who was a part of the Super Bowl 16 debacle where the NFL cheated and the Bengals lost. But stuff like that happens. So we'll go through that. I mean, he played in the Freezer Bowl. He caught the last touchdown pass in that game, which sent the mighty Cincinnati Bengals up against the lowly San Francisco 49ers. But everybody knows the history after that. We're almost out of time. I'm just going to keep talking so Matt can't respond to this either. But
I'm just laughing away. Good stuff. I know I could never get away with stuff you're saying.
You can tune into the Grueling Truth next Tuesday night at 11 p.m., And then again next Thursday night at 11 p.m. I'm your host, Mike Goodpastor, speaking for Matt Andrews Scavage. You're listening to Grueling Truth, where the legends speak. Thanks.